Good evening. It's Monday, July 3rd, 2023. Welcome to episode 26 of Porterhouse and Teal Live. Joining me tonight is Lucy Borne from the YouTube channel My Crooked Homestead, or My Crooked Little Homestead. Lucy lives in Ontario, Canada, and is a longtime homesteader who is recognized within this community as having the nickname Terminator. I thought I'd bring her on tonight to have a conversation about what her life is like up in Canada, doing things on her homestead in kind of more of a traditional way. So welcome, Lucy, to the broadcast.
Thank you for having me.
Yeah, we had a little bit of a technical difficulty there. So hopefully we're able to continue on without too many more issues. But Lucy was nimble enough to switch over to her phone because she was having issues on her laptop. So we'll get started. And really the first question I kind of want to ask you, Lucy, is just, where'd you get your start and what was your early life like?
Well, I got my start, I'd say, when I met my husband, when we got married, and we actually moved. Our first year of marriage, we moved to a farm to help his sister clean the farm up. The old elderly gentleman, her brother-in-law, passed away. And that's where we started growing vegetables, raising our own pork. And that was 45 years ago. And we started, we were there for about 8 months. Then we moved back. That was about 4 hours from where we live now, from our original hometown. My husband was born in the town we live in now. And I've been living here since, and my husband's a third-time generation farmer. And to me, it's a normal way of life. We grow our own vegetables. We raised our own meat. It's healthier. And we raised 5 children doing it this way. Yeah, back over the years, we had hydro. But the home that we live on now, My Crooked Little Homestead, we've lived here with no power. We did that for 4 years. Learned how to set up solar systems and use power that way to power the whole house, and actually hook it up through a generator. And but we do have a bit of power. My house burnt. We lost our home 3 years ago, and we haven't rebuilt since. It's just too costly. But over the years, no matter where we lived, whether we rented or like this is our first. We actually grew a garden where we lived. We grew a garden, grew our own fruit, vegetables. Always. I learned to preserve. I lost my parents at an early age. I never got to know my mother, all her preserves that she did. I never got to know any of her recipes or anything, except my niece found one, and I do that faithfully now. It's a Cajun recipe from the East Coast. My parents were both born German, touch of Irish, but it's a normal way of life, really. If you really look at life and look all around you, we live in the bush, and we quite a few jobs over time, but I learned and experienced different things. I've did many different types of work. My husband taught me how to do repair motors, tear a motor down, build it back. He's taught our children that. So, over all the years, the 45 years between my husband and I've learned a lot from him, and he's learned. We put that all in with our children. Our kids were involved in everything. We baked, we cooked, we raised, we butchered. The children were involved in everything so that they would learn. And my motto years ago, I told my children, started teaching them at the age of 5 how to cook. And I wanted that so that if they got on their own and had to live on their own, they could actually be able to survive out there in the world, no matter what it was like. They could cook for themselves and they could defend. Are you still
Yeah,
there?
you locked up there. I was waiting for you to come back. So I didn't really catch the last part of
Say
what
that
you had
again.
said. I said that I didn't really catch the last part of what you had said. You had locked up, and so I was just kind of waiting till you came back. Can you hear me now?
Yep, I can hear you fine now.
Okay. So
We,
you and your husband
we've
are
been having
full-time
we've been
homesteaders?
having thunderstorms, so
Weather's probably causing a little bit of this issue, but so you and your husband are full-time homesteaders, I understand?
yes, yes, we are.
Yeah. How big is your property? How many acres?
Just over 100 acres.
Right. And so how close to town are you? Are you somewhat close to town, or are you quite well removed
We're
from that?
the town that I live near. We're 11.3 kilometers away from the fire hall, and it's only about 1,000 people. It's not a
Okay.
very big town. Never has been.
Right. Now, the people that live in that area, are they living kind of more of the same lifestyle as you, or do they have more modern amenities?
Oh, there's a lot of farms around our area. We've
Right.
had new people move up into the area from the cities, and that want to learn, or they've been raised on farms and had lived growing up like away from the farm. And we have a lot of young kids that are like couples that have moved up and bought around us. But yeah, the city's trying to come closer, but we're hoping not. We like the
Yeah.
bush.
Right. Right. And so you're living on 100 acres, and you have a home on there. Since your place burned, you wound up rebuilding, I take it. And so what do you have now? Have you completely rebuilt your house and you guys are up and running, or are
No,
you still in the process?
no. Tag tag laughs and bee laughs. We started off with a 10 by 10 that my daughter, we had let her build a little 10 by 10 cabin. Then when she used to come and visit and stay in it, well, we live in it. We've added on to it. We've got the room I'm sitting in now. Then the back behind me is another room, actually where our bed is for now. And I've just got all my material, saved the money and got all my material to add a bedroom and a bathroom and a pantry so I can put all my preserves in there. But
Right.
we're kind of just snuggled in. It kind of, I call it kind of like the old movie of the Beverly Hillbillies, and I love it.
Not the mansion, but the house they moved from, right?
The house they moved from.
Yeah, yeah. So it's
Yeah.
pretty small, and like talk about how you manage your you say you're living in the bush, so I take it are you on grid or are you off grid?
We're on grid right now, but I'm set up that we could go off grid at any time.
Oh, that's super cool. How do you manage like your most basic needs? And I would define that as water, food, and energy. What do you do
Well,
for those things?
my Crooked Little Homestead, on my channel, I did a video of how I haul my water. I do it in this. I have a hose. We take a pump. My husband took a pump out of a trailer because my son does scrap, and we save all the little pumps because that's what you pump water for trailers when you go to campsites. And he hooked it up so that I can hook it up to a battery. And I pump my water through a hose. I water my garden. I bring water up to the cabin, and we charge the battery on our solar system. We don't use electric power at all. And all our vehicles if the batteries go low, we charge them on. My husband sets it up on the solar system.
Huh. Yeah, that's pretty awesome. So I take it you don't have running water in the house. You're bringing it in and
Nope, nope,
no
nope. And I don't want it. I don't want it unless I get an old hand pump. I don't want it. I bail water in the wintertime from my well, and I fill up water jugs and bring it up about once every 2 weeks.
Right. What about sanitation? How about you guys compost toilet, or you got an outside outhouse, or how's that work?
Outhouse, his and hers outhouse. My daughter built them.
Right.
But I am putting eventually in my bathroom that I'm building. My son gave me a special little bathtub shower unit that I can use. And if I want to use propane or just do it the old fashioned way, like they did in the old cowboy movies, fill it up with bale water, or bring the hose up, fill it up and boil water on the stove and take a bath in the bathtub. But I'm going to have it all set up. I took a day and I think I did a video on it, and I dug a 4 foot, I think it's like 5 feet deep and 4 by 4. And I threw a big water tank in there for a holding tank for a septic. And I'm setting that all up just by watching some videos. And eventually we'll have a toilet. But the way I look at it, you can take a toilet and you can fill the back and flush it, but you just keep pails of water. And in the wintertime, I melt snow and we boil water and we cook on a wood stove and heat with the wood stove all winter long.
So that's, so your energy needs are met. How about lighting? I mean, you're not like kerosene lanterns. You've got like lights, right? And all that with your solar, right? Is that how you manage that? Or?
Not at the moment.
Right.
At the moment, we do have, like, I put a lamp on now, but we don't use a lot of lighting in here. Usually we have a TV on, and I watch all you guys on a 52-inch TV. I just hook my laptop up to it and go on YouTube, and sometimes we'll watch an old Western movie, the Beverly Hillbillies or whatever. But I do watching all my homesteaders and all the videos they put out. And it's like right now it's on grid, but if it ever comes down that they shut the grid down, we can automatically set up and go the old way. I've learned to live the old way back in the 1800s. What did they do with no hydro? Coal oil lanterns, that's fine. Candles, you can make your own candles if you go to other homesteaders that have wax or whatever. You can make your own candles. But you heat with wood. And the old way, what did they do? When it got dark, they went to bed. When it got daylight, they got up. My husband and I both, it wouldn't bother us. It wouldn't bother us if they shut everything off.
Right. Yeah, that's actually very inspiring. I mean, I'm just smiling listening to you say that, because we've become so accustomed in today's society to just really embrace all of those modern amenities, but you're not fazed by it. And I just find that inspiring when people can, step outside, and it's not even like you're blazing a trail, quite honestly, because this is how they used to do it. You're just recognizing and honoring those that came before us and saying, hey, this isn't something that can't be done again. And I appreciate that. So.
It can be. It can be.
Yeah. What
See,
do you do
growing up as a child, my father fought in World War II. My mother and father both went through the Great Depression. My father didn't talk much, but my mother used to tell me stories about how she was as a child growing up through the Great Depression and the food stamps. So if there's no money around, they were given food stamps to buy what they could, or she'd go out and do little jobs, ironing men's shirts in a factory to help her mother. Her father was very sick. But they made ends meet, and they grew their own food, their own, whatever they could get for seeds, they grew their own. And I see why everybody's, seed saving is very, very, very important to everybody. And everybody should take it seriously. A lot of people laugh at me, but then there's a lot of people out there that I talk about it with, and they think, now that they see what's going on in the food prices and what the governments are, I better watch my language, what is being put into the foods, the meats, the fruit, the vegetables, you don't know what you're getting. So when you grow it your own, you raise it your own, what's in that food, and it's healthy.
Yeah, 100%. Let's talk about that a little bit. You just mentioned the food aspect of it, and that's one of the big three in my mind of basic necessities and essentials of life. So how do you manage your food on your homestead? What do you do for your meat consumption and then also your vegetables? How do you raise all that?
Well, right now I've been struggling this year with my garden, but you know what? I'm a fighter. I've replanted my pumpkin 4 times. I've got beautiful pumpkin plants now. I've been really working down there, a lot of weeds, and I'm getting ready to put a video out. But I lost most of my tomatoes out of about between 80, maybe 90 tomato plants I had in my greenhouse. We got a last frost in June, and I lost almost all of them. I have a variety of beef steak. I have my Italian paste for my sauce, and then I have cherry tomatoes, just just for salads and whatnot. I've grown celery for the first time this year, and it's doing amazing. It's up like 6-7 inches, and I'm proud of myself. I grew a sweet potato slip, only one out of this darn potato, and I think I went through 5 potatoes. It's in my greenhouse. Danny and Wanda said that it had to be really warm. They like hot weather. Well, Canada, Ontario doesn't always stay hot, except we've been getting hot weather. 59 at night, 60, and then up to 100 through the day. But I got it growing, and it's starting to spread in my greenhouse, and I'm babying it. I just want to see if I can grow 2 or 3 potatoes, and then I've accomplished something. So then I will work at it to grow more next year. It's just something I wanted to try, because I grew 200 pounds of potatoes last year, just in buckets and a few rows of potatoes. I did a video on it, and I've already started picking broccoli, and I'm getting ready to do a garden video in honor of the Buffalo Seed Company. I've set up a little garden, and they sent me, I wanted to learn how to grow black-eyed peas. I've never tasted them. I've never eaten them. I can't find them where I live. So when they sent me that, I lost the first few I put out. They come up, they rotted off, died off. Well, I've got 12 plants up, and I'm proud of myself because they're doing good, and I've got it screened in so nothing, I've got fencing all around so nothing will get at them. And the corn's coming up nice. The cucumbers are doing amazing, and I've grown my first chamomile. I've never grown it before, and they're just starting to take off now. I've got them in pots. But it's a trial and error, and you just got to keep trying and trying. And that's what I do. I don't give up. I just keep trying. I'm determined to grow something I've never grown each year, and I've accomplished that.
Yeah. I was going to ask you about that.
And then, yeah.
No, I was going to ask you because of your growing season. I actually looked it up in Ontario, Canada. They say the growing season is like 161 days a year. And so how do you manage that? When do you start? Do you do a lot of stuff like season extension stuff as far as starting it inside, starting it in your greenhouse? How do you manage getting that stuff to grow when you have such a short growing season?
Well, I started inside. Some of it doesn't work, some of it does, but then I just keep persevering. My garden went in late this year. My husband always told me that his dad never started planting in this area till about June 15th, because you never know when you're going to get a really late frost. And I met his father, he died a couple years after we were married, but he grew the most beautiful gardens you ever saw. And he always talked about what he did. And, I take that to heart, because being a farmer as he was, he had 2 farms, and they had such beautiful gardens. And him being born in 1904 and living the First World War, Second World War, Depression, and all these wars, but he always had a beautiful garden. And with my gardens, I want to be able to provide. My goal is to go totally off grid and provide my own food on my property and never have to go to a store. Never. And I raise my own meat, my animals. I got my 4 piglets this year. I have a farmer where I get my feed. I can buy pure natural beef anytime. She's going to start selling me raw milk this fall. So I have my own milk. And she loves to barter, and I love to barter. And we barter over different things. But I've got chickens that are sitting on eggs now, which I'm proud of. I've been fighting for that. I finally got it. She's bringing off eggs. I've got a duck that's sitting on eggs that's bringing duck eggs and turkey eggs off for me, because these incubators I bought aren't cutting it. They're not doing what I want. And I want to have it so that I don't, if there's ever, the way I look at it, if there's no power, no hydro, how are you going to set off eggs? How are you going to, so I want it so that I have it the old way, the way they used to do it, chickens, turkeys, the way they all bring off the eggs for you, and they do the work. And you do so much, you don't overdo it. You provide what you need for that year, or maybe 2 years in advance. And plus we hunt. My daughter hunts. We get wild game. I have a lot of wild game. I got bear, deer, moose, I got partridge. I've got, you name it, I've got it on the property. If wild rabbits, I raise rabbits. If we need it, it's there. So there's one way or the other. We'll have our meat and we'll have our vegetables. The only thing that I have apples. We have apple trees. I do have a couple orange trees started. My pineapple tree is growing that I've been struggling with. It's still doing okay. So, you know, and we have other fruit. We have choke cherries. A lot of people don't know what that is. We can pick blackberries, raspberries, strawberries. We've got all what we need and what God gave us on the land. And I've been learning what I can eat off my land if it comes down to it. So, you know, and then I can store up for the winter months.
Yeah. Specifically, what livestock do you raise? You mentioned ducks and chickens and rabbits, but do you have anything else that you're raising?
I have ducks. Yeah, I have rabbits, ducks. Yeah, I have rabbits, ducks, chickens, and pigs. I did have cows. They're too much of a nuisance. So I just go after the small. And if I want beef, I can go to my local, like we always say, support our local farmers, ones that are, you know, homesteading and that. I support them before I'd support the stores.
Yeah, that's so important, and I think you are really doing it right. There's somebody made a comment that's saying that you're doing it right, and I would echo that, because we do need to support those that are around us, those local businesses and local farmers, and plus you're tapping into all those resources on your own property. What is your property like? Is it timbered, or do you have pasture land, or what are we working with here?
Nope. All bush. Just clearing where my garden is and where my home is. Everything else is solid bush. We have a big swamp in the back. We have lots of running fresh springs, water. We've got water year round. I could, if my well went dry, I could go in the bush and take water out of a running stream.
Yeah, so you guys have an abundance of water up there, lakes and streams and all of that. So it's not really that much of an issue. How much of an issue is it, however, when it's raining? Or excuse me, not when it's raining, but when it's like in the winter time, when it's frozen and it's cold. How's gathering water then?
Oh, I just go down to the well, chop ice. If the well's frozen, my husband made me an ice chopper. I chop a hole and I bail the water out when I need it.
Huh.
And yeah, for me doing dishes or bathing, or for us bathing, we just melt snow.
Wow. And you've been doing that for how many years now? I think I locked you up there. Yeah, Lucy is an amazing woman. I'm sure she'll be back soon and get to some of these. Yeah, her video did freeze. Yeah, and I appreciate you reaching out to me on that. You sent me that email about the sheep tractor, and I look forward to getting those pictures from you. So I appreciate that. Are you back?
You know, yeah, I'm back. You hear me?
Yep, I can hear you now.
Can you hear me?
Yep. Yep, I can hear you. So we were talking about.
Tell you a story. My husband.
Now I lost your audio.
I'm gonna have to move closer. Hear me now?
Yep. Wherever you had your phone the first time, it was working.
I have to tell you a story from years ago.
Okay.
I have to tell you a story from years ago. My husband used to tell our children how they used to go with their father with a team of horses and cut ice on the lakes and big blocks of ice back to the farmhouse and put it in their cooler and bury it with sawdust. And that's how they used to keep their food cool and keep it through the winter months and through the summer.
Right. Are you
And,
there?
looking back, people worry about the fridges. Yeah, I'm still here. Can you hear me?
Yep, I can hear you.
How's that?
Yeah, you're good. It's just a little bit of a delay.
Can you
So,
still hear me? Okay.
yep,
Yeah.
yep.
That's probably because we're so far away.
Yeah, go
Yeah, and
ahead.
it's been storming off and on. We needed the rain. We needed the rain. But it's not just me. I look at there's Tag and B and all the work B does in the gardens, and there's Mr. G and Yoda, the work they do. You know what? They inspire me to just keep going and going and going. Even Danny and Wanda, I watch all of you guys that put out your videos. I watch them all. That's my quiet time early in the morning before I get ready to go out that door and start my hard work. I enjoy watching everybody's videos. If I miss one that night, I'm on it looking to see who I missed, and I watch everybody because I learn from everybody else. Also, there's things I've never done. I've never dehydrated. I'm learning all that. And it watching everybody, you learn something. And I was always told, no matter how old you are, you learn something new every day.
Yeah, I think.
And you guys
Go ahead.
inspire me all to just keep going and do what I do. To me, it's a normal way of life, fast pace, high. I just look on life and prayers in the morning, and you thank Jesus for, being there and supporting you and giving you the day of life to start off with. And you know what? I do that every day. And then I pray for everybody, all our homesteaders, family, that that keep them safe and healthy, and with everything that's going on in the world today. And that's how I start my day every day. And it just builds me up and keeps me moving, keeps me going. All of you guys and my prayers.
Yeah, I think, listening to you, Lucy, obviously you're a person with a tremendous amount of knowledge of your own, and it's just inspiring. It is honestly inspiring to listen to somebody with that amount of gratitude and being able to, do for yourself and not really looking for others to do for you. I just think that there's so much that we can all learn from that. So you're an inspiration yourself. I want you to understand that, at least from my perspective. So thanks for sharing all of what you've shared thus far. But I was asking before you froze up, I asked, had you been doing this, the water hauling and all of this? You've been doing that for how many years now?
Oh, for the water hauling
Yeah, just
for our
your
well,
whole lifestyle.
almost 4 years.
Okay.
Oh,
And
I've done it off and on. Certain places where we've lived, we've had water trouble or whatever, and I used to haul. But like here on our own homestead, since the house burnt, I've been doing it for almost 4 years.
yeah, and so
Steady.
you're not really in you're not desiring to not do that. You enjoy that and you want to just continue on with that. You're not looking to like, oh, I got to put in a water system. I got to do these things. I got to do. You're completely content with the way things are going right now.
Yep. Yep. Yes, I am. Yes, I am. And the way I look at it, when you got a big house and you got lots of all this and that, you got more to store, you got more to clean. This way here, you just do it up quickly and whatever. I do everything by hand. Our tractors, my husband has the tractor, certain things that he'll do with the tractor, but everything else is done by hand. He bought me a little wee tiny mini tillard, and I use it. I use it to loosen up the soil and everything. But when it comes to hauling, I have manure that's like 10, 15 years old. So it's like black gold, I call it. My black gold. I haul it with a wheelbarrow, or he'll go down with the lawn tractor and fill up a trailer for me, a small little trailer, and he'll bring it and it dumps, and he dumps it out, and then I can work from there. And but other than that, I prefer to do it the way I work with a hoe. Like Danny said, the best a gardener is with a sharp hoe. And every time my son gets scrap, I get first pickings, and the first thing I pick out of it is garden tools. Anytime I see a garden tool, I got a big collection. I got about 5 different types of hoes. You name it, I've got it. Shovels. I save it all. You never know when you're going to need it.
Yeah. Yeah. Do you have family nearby?
No, he's cut it.
Do you have family nearby, Lucy, to where you're at?
Yes. Yeah. My husband comes from a family of 14, and I come from a family of 7.
Right. And so they're still kind of in the area and able to you're able to tap into them, and you guys are pretty close.
We used to be. We're not now. We used to be close years ago, but we're close. I'm closer with my husband's family. We're very, very close. My family, no, they've kind of went their way, and they don't live the style I live. So, but his family, he's got a sister that's almost 100 years old. And I take her fresh zucchini, fresh potatoes. She loves her fresh potatoes, and she loves it when we bring that to her. She don't drive anymore, and she don't go out anywhere anymore. But we bring her all those vegetables. She lives in her own apartment, and she cooks them up, and she just loves it all. And you know, that's what the enjoyment is. You can share it with somebody that's going to really enjoy it and appreciate it.
Right. What I was going to ask you, since you're up in Canada, and this is something that I'm pretty unfamiliar with. We have very temperate weather here. It doesn't get very, very cold. If it gets below like 20 degrees, that's heading into cold territory for us. And I'm talking 20 degrees Fahrenheit. So how cold does it get there where you're at up in Canada? I know it gets pretty brutal in the winters.
We've had between -40 and -50.
Yeah. And is that pretty typical? You know, it's going to be hitting -30 to -50 every year.
Yeah. Some years it's not. We'll get a mild winter, or some years we'll get a really, really cold winter. Mild winter, we get a lot of snow. One year we had over 5 feet in our bush. You stepped off the packed trails. You sunk past your waist, and you had to fight to dig your way out. Those were a lot of fun.
Right.
But then there's some years when it's cold, we don't get a lot of snow. We don't get a lot of snow when it's cold.
Right. What are some of the things that maybe you would be like most concerned about, living? I mean, you're probably very used to it. That's something it's not something that's probably that much of a freak out for you, but
health.
Okay.
Well, what I would be concerned, health. And I don't know. I'm close with our children. We're very close with our children. I have my son that lives right here on the property in his own house. And he's the one that when our house was on fire, he woke up through the night, and he actually dove through they called it the Superman dive, and he dove through a double pane window and thought we were still unconscious in the house, but we weren't. I was already getting my grandson was staying in a spare room, and I was getting my husband and my grandson out the one window, and he drove through, and as he drove through, the hydro went out. That's when we lost hydro, and he didn't even realize he had tore a big, huge chunk of skin right out of his whole arm. He almost bled to death, but we made it all out. We're all safe, and he did lose his 3 little dogs in the fire. But you know what? It's brought up me and my children closer. My husband and I and our kids. It's brought us all closer. We have 12 grandchildren, and we're very close with them. Mm-hmm. And you know what? That's what it is. I don't have a lot of homestead community around here. That's why I follow all you guys, because you guys are my community. And but I have my children and my grandchildren, and we do everything together. Actually, I got to go clean when we're finished this. I got to go clean 2 big, huge pickerel. My grandson brought me 2 big, huge pickerels, so I got to go clean them and put them in the fridge for supper tomorrow night.
Yeah, that's pretty inspiring. Leather Homestead was asking, do you do any trapping up there in the wintertime?
Any what?
There's some any trapping. I'm sure that people run some
Trapping?
trap lines up there. Yeah.
We do have trappers all around. You're supposed to have licenses. If I want to trap, I usually put snares on my property and I can snare wild rabbit. You have to have special licenses and everything here, and you got to have a trapper's license. You got to go through a course and everything. And I don't know what it is like down in the States, but here, almost everything you got to have a license for it. But if you're on your own property, you can trap. My husband and I used to snare rabbits all the time, snowshoe rabbits. And we used to do the pelts down, and we used to eat the meat, cook the meat, put it in stews, mix it with my daughter hunts. She gives us bear meat, deer meat, moose meat. And now my son-in-law, he's does refrigeration. He set up his own system, and the two of them are going to be doing all the butchering, and so they're going to be our own private abattoir.
Yeah. What about your food preps? You're pretty squared away on your food preps. I know that being up there and being self-reliant as you are, I'm sure you've probably managed to.
Well, I still have, I think, let's see. I'm going to show you. This is some of my potatoes from last year. I still have about 40 jars of potatoes. I still have carrots. I still have relish. I have about 50 jars of different types of jam. I make beet jelly, wild grape jelly, blackberry jam, strawberry. I do peach. I do pineapple. Whatever thing I can make jam out of, I make it. And we have lots. I've got about, I'd say, another year's supply. Yeah. And I still have a garden to process this summer. Now that I'm learning to dehydrate. See, I'm taking on something new. I've never dehydrated before. And I'm learning, I'm teaching myself how to do that. But then I follow everybody else's videos, and it's teaching me. So, and then I got my first pressure canner. I've done everything the Amish way or Mennonite way by cooking all my meat and vegetables in jars and doing it water bathing for 3 hours. And now that I've got my pressure cooker, I want to make myself a little rocket stove. I'm building in the middle of setting up to build myself an outdoor kitchen. And I'm going to do all my cooking and everything down there on a fire with my pressure canner.
Yeah. Yeah, that's
I don't mind challenges. I'll try anything.
Yeah, that's pretty good. How are you you're cooking, are you doing that on wood stove? Are you cooking on a stove? Are you?
Nope. I cook on a wood stove in the wintertime, and in the summertime we have a barbecue. Right now in Ontario, Canada, it is a complete fire ban on, because there's so many fires from Quebec and northern Ontario that we're not allowed to even put an outside fire on. So right now we're using a barbecue. But I do all my wintertime, I heat with the wood stove. I've got what do they call them? I have special pots that go on my wood stove, and I make stews, soups, pork and beans. But I'm setting myself up so that it's all pre-made, pre-done in jars, like you would do a grocery store. So then if I want something, I just pull it out off the shelf. I go into my pantry that I'm building. Oh, what do I want today? Do I want pork and beans? Do I want to make a homemade chicken noodle soup? Or I'll make it from scratch. I do a lot of stuff from scratch. And I bake. I'm learning to bake on the wood stove in our different pots that I have. But yeah, I just take it day by day, whatever there is. I make enough food that'll last me a good full year. I've still got about a half a freezer left, because I also freeze. And see, I keep my freezers outside in a shed, in my old wood shed. And in the wintertime, they stay frozen. I don't use power. I don't have to use power if I don't want to. I can shut them off and they stay frozen all winter long because it's so cold. But summertime, that's why I try to get them all used up by this time. I have a little bit left from my vegetables from last year, but I try to redo it so that by the time I'm back into processing, I've still got stock. And I'm with Danny and Wanda King from I can't even remember, it's right off the top of my head. But anyways, from Danny and Wanda King. Yeah, Deep South Homestead. I should be ashamed of myself. You know, I'm so proud of watching them and how Wanda has it so organized. She can go downstairs, check her shopping and see what she needs, go downstairs and just pull it off the shelf downstairs and bring it up and fill it up. And you don't have to go anywhere. If I go anywhere, it's to go and get my husband's medication because his cancer, his cancer isn't back. He does drink his Essiac tea every day, but he's on blood pressure pills. So we go once every 3 months. And when I make that trip, I make a list of what I need. And you're lucky if you see me in a grocery store once a month. If there's something I need or some fruit that I'm going to get organic. Other than that, you don't see me near a store at all, unless it's buying lumber to do my buildings. Other than that, I don't go anywhere. I have everything here. I don't need to go anywhere. I'm happy.
Yeah. Yeah, that's pretty inspiring. I suppose I would be remiss if I didn't ask how you got the nickname Terminator.
Tag. I don't know. He said, you just go, go, go. You're like the Terminator. You are the Terminator. And I'm saying, well, okay. It's a normal way of life. You know, you just keep going and you do what you got to do. No matter who you are, you got to do what you got to do. Whatever needs to be done, you do it. And, you know, I set up goals for myself, not for anybody, but myself. I'll set up in the morning. I'll set and say, well, I want to do this, this, and this. And I'll start with one and I'll work at it until it's done, till it's complete. If I can't complete it, well, then I'll set it, mark it in my book. I have a book, and then I'll say, well, I'll get back to it at this day if I need this stuff. Well, then I'll start something else. Right now, I have weeds that are 5 feet tall. I have weeds that are 5 feet tall around my greenhouse that I have to get to. And I've got myself a special little, almost like what the Chinese use for chopping down trees and stuff and branches and weeds. And I go along and I bought myself, I think 6 years ago, I bought myself an electric weed whacker, and I bought it for, I think, $20. It was on sale at a Walmart about 3-4 years ago, and I still got it. No, about 5 years before the house burnt. And you know, it still works. So while I've got electricity, I go around and I weed whack everywhere as I can weed whack, and whatever extension cord I can use, I plug her in, and I might have 3 extension cords to my greenhouse, and I get it done. But you know what? I enjoy just going myself by hand because I see what plants I have. I found yarrow. I know I have yarrow growing. I've got marshmallow plants growing. And then I can see what is edible and what's not. What I don't really want to keep, I can get rid of it. But then I've been learning and listening to everybody and talking about the different plants. And I had I think it was my daughter-in-law was laughing the other night, and she said, you know, your video you did with the wintergreen. I don't know, you guys probably don't have wintergreen where yous are. You got to pick it in the fall, in the cold. And it's just like you can make tea out of it. You can use the berries and make jam out of it. And she says, you taking a bite of that wintergreen leaf and you're talking about it and everything. She said, you look so comical. I said, you know, but it's the truth. It's what it is. You know by the smell of it. It's such a beautiful smell. And it tastes delicious, but drinking the tea from it is even better. So, you know, when you can be able to go onto your land and be able to see what you can eat, what you can make stuff out of. Wild lettuce, I have it grown. I've got a plant that's 8 feet tall right now. And last year, when I watched a video on it, I said, oh, it helps with pain. Well, I had a sore hip. I went and took 2 leaves, chewed it right off the plant, chewed it right and swallowed it. And you know, about 20 minutes later, my leg didn't bother me anymore. So now I'm waiting for when it's ready to harvest, and I'm going to dry it because I can make it into a tea. And then I have it for medicinal purpose. So those are things that I've been learning from everybody else's videos, which I never really took to heart before. But now I take it more as I'm getting older. You know, I don't believe in taking medication from the stores or from the doctors. And my doctor, when I went for my last checkup, I was in perfect health. So if I'm going in perfect health, why not keep it that way and just use all naturals? Why go to all that stuff that they stick everything in? You don't know what you're getting, all these side effects. This way here, you've got it. It wouldn't be there for us. It wouldn't be there. You know, God wouldn't have put it on the earth for us to be able to have and use. So, you know, this is the best way, is learn what you've got on your land. Like I listen to when Tag talk and B talk all about what they have. And now you know, and Gypsy, I can't believe what they see on. They showed all them pictures, Jonathan, all the land they bought over in Kansas, and how they show what is growing, the different things that they've got growing. I have like trees. They talk about trees. I have every type of tree on my property. I've got from black cherry, I've got choke cherry, pin cherry, I've got birch, white birch, yellow birch. I've got 5 different pine trees. I've got cedar, you name it, I have it. And if I need it for anything, it's there. But we try to keep our bush natural.
Yeah,
and we don't eat, like when we cut wood, we cut the dead stuff. We don't cut the live stuff. Unless it's necessary, we don't cut the live stuff. We cut everything that's dead. And our bushes, like, we can make maple syrup if we need to. My daughter, we made maple syrup this spring with my daughter. It was her first time. Her dad showed them how to do it the old-fashioned way, not with thermometers or anything, but the old way of how to really do maple syrup, and it turned out amazing. They did so much. It was so beautiful, and it tasted so delicious. And now they have that tradition, and they can keep the family tradition going.
Yeah, that's awesome, Lucy. I think the nickname Terminator is pretty appropriate, because you do just keep going. So I just think that it's so inspiring. And for those that may not know, the tag she's referring to is guy has a YouTube channel called Life Done Free. So that's who she was referring to, gave her the nickname. But yeah,
Life Done Free.
Cool.
Yep.
Yeah, Tag's a good guy.
Everybody.
How late's it, or how long is it staying daylight? Because you're further north in latitude than us, and I know that it stays light quite a bit up there. So, like on the longest day of the year, how long can you get daylight until?
Till about quarter to 10 at night here. So that would be 3 hours. That would be like your quarter to 10 would be like quarter to 7 for you guys. It'd be quarter to 10 at night here, and then it's starting to get darker now that we've had our longest daytime. It's starting slowly to down to 9:30 at night, between 9:30 22, and then it starts just like right now it's 10:02 here, and it's black as black outside.
Right. Yeah, that's just something that.
But then in the morning, when you get quarter to 5, it's daylight here. But it is usually now it's not so bad. But before, a couple weeks ago, I would want to go out to the garden that early before the heat hit. But the mosquitoes were so bad and the black flies were so bad. Yeah, ain't happening.
Yeah, crazy. What? Let me ask you, what is your favorite part about living in Canada?
What is my favorite what?
Yeah, what's your favorite part about living in Canada?
What I love here is we have the summers, which is hot or warm, and then we have the winters, and it changes the air. The air, it's cleaner air. It it refreshes everything, and that's what I like about it. I love my winters. I can go out on a nice cold morning, go for a nice brisk walk. You don't have to worry about the animals out. Through the summertime, when you're out walking on the back road, you got to watch either moose will step out in front of you or a bear. But in the wintertime, you don't see any of that.
Right.
And we like ice fishing in the winter.
Yeah, those are all things that I don't really get to experience where I live. So that's kind of unique. I like hearing about that. What's your biggest challenge up there in Canada? I mean, obviously it's just way different than where I live. So I'm honestly being inquisitive here about what's the biggest challenge you face, because you're a lifelong resident up there.
The biggest challenge is wintertime. If you need to get out or anything, and we've had it where we couldn't get out of our road for 3-4 days because there was so much snow. If you needed to go anywhere, you couldn't, unless you went on a snow machine. I tell you, when I used to work at Walmart about 40 minutes away. And at night, I'd come home. Through the day, I'd go in at 2:30 in the afternoon, be done by 10:30, and drive home. And in the wintertime, we got such a bad snowstorm. I was pushing snow, and there's a big, huge hill just before my house, about 2 or 3 kilometers from my house. And there's a farm and a dear old friend of ours. I went to get up that hill, and you know what? That old car of mine, it was a big old car, Oldsmobile. I got stuck halfway up that hill, went to open my door, and I had to push snow. And I turned around and said, oh gosh, I'm going to have to back down this way somehow. Left that door open, and I followed my tracks to come back down that deep snow. And lo and behold, the farmer that lived down at the bottom of the hill, he was out and he was stuck down at the cottages blowing snow, but he had blown his driveway. I backed her in there, went in, knocked on the door. She poured me a hot cup of hot chocolate, called my husband, and he had to come and get me on a snow machine because the snow was so deep and the roads hadn't been plowed all day and all night. And he came and got me and brought me home on a snow machine. We had to wait till the next day to get our car till the plows all came through. That was hilarious, driving on a snow machine in these big, huge snow drifts to get home. But winters are challenging. They can be freezing rain. You don't dare want to walk down to the barn when it's freezing rain, and you end up sliding all the way to the barn.
Yeah, I can only imagine. That's I'm just not a fan.
But you know what? I love it. I love it. It just changed. The cold changes the air, changes how you breathe and how you feel. That's one thing I like about the winters, because the summer's so hot. Like right now, today was in the shade was 96, and in the sun was about 105. And my greenhouse, I have everything open on it. It was 120 in there.
Yeah. Huh.
And then we got rain all of a sudden. How am I what?
Yeah. How were you affected by all of the things that were going on in 2020, with the lockdowns and all of those sort of things? I mean, how did it impact your life in any real meaningful way? Seems like you're pretty self-sufficient there.
Yeah, no, the lockdowns didn't bother me. I felt good about the lockdowns. I didn't have to be around people. You never know who's going to cough on you or what's going to happen. When the government told us to stay home, we stayed home. I had food on the property. I didn't care. I do my own things here. We play horseshoes. We play cards. We play games with my son and my daughter. And we stayed. My husband and I, we just stick together and do things together. And it didn't bother us at all. This is the way we live. So, we don't go out to partying or anything like that, or go into cities. I hate cities. So it's something that we love here and we enjoy it. So the lockdowns didn't bother us really at all. The only time it really bothered us, I'd say, is my husband had to go for surgery for his cancer. And we had to wear the masks, do all this and that. And then when we get to the hospital for him to go in, they wouldn't allow me in at all. He had to go in by himself and face everything and by himself. But then they released him and we brought him home, and we never went back because he was sicker going there and coming home than he ever was being at home.
Yeah. Listening to you, Lucy, it's like, again, I am inspired by your story and just hearing you talk and share that. And one of the things that's pretty striking to me, quite honestly, is, I hear a lot of people saying, hey, you should move out of California. You should move to one of these freer states, right? And for those in the audio, I'm holding up my finger quotes, freer states. And, Canada's not exactly a bastion of freedom, but yet it doesn't really seem to affect you. And what I take away from that is that it matters more how you live than where you live. And
that's right. Like where you're living, if you're happy there and you're making it and you're living off your land and you're able to grow your food and whatever, why move?
Yeah. Yeah, I know. I
some people do. I get it.
Yeah.
Some people do. Some people want to. And I love the community that Tag and B are building, and everybody's building and getting together and everything. But if I don't have that here, at least I still can connect with them and still have that ability of having the community this way.
Yeah, for sure. And, you know, I would just say that it really matters less about, again, where you live and more about how you live. And if you remove yourself from the system matters
The way I
less.
see it, you make it your own. You make it your own.
Yeah. So I just think that that's kind of my takeaway from listening to you, because again, you live in Canada, and Canada's pretty restrictive in a lot of respects politically, but yet you're untethered. Yeah, you're untethered from that, and it's not affecting you.
You know, years ago, the way I look at our government or anybody's government, they're like a bunch of kindergarten kids fighting over that darn red crayon. They all want that one red crayon, and they fight like a bunch of kids. So the way I look at it, as long as I pay my taxes, I have food on the table, you know, we're happy. We have our land. We can do what we want. I do what I want. You know, I don't always follow the rules, but I do what I want. And I don't listen to the government. I don't vote no more. I quit voting, because no matter who you vote for, they're all going to fight like a bunch of kindergarten kids anyways. And they just all fight to try and think they're doing better, but they do worse more than anything.
Yeah.
And you know, I have a daughter that's a teacher, and she's got to follow rules, and she hates it. She hates the rules that she's got to follow. She wants to teach her kids, because she teaches grade 2 and 3. She wants to teach them the old way, but she's not allowed to. It's taken totally right out of the correct school curriculum, and she hates it. And, you know, and she's dedicated to her kids. She tries to sneak the odd little thing in there from years ago. But other than that, you know, it's, you got to have a license. You got to have a license for everything here. You're not allowed to own guns. You're not allowed this unless you're licensed. You're not allowed. Handguns are restricted now. But you know, it's just ridiculous. There is no such a thing of freedom in Canada. There's no free speech. There's no nothing. You try and they just knock you down. But me, I just talk. I say what I want and do what I want, and I'm happy that way. If they don't like to hear what I've got to say, don't listen. That's my kids are the same way. They're outspoken. They got something to say. They don't care who it is. They say it. And if you don't like it and it's the truth, don't listen. Walk away.
Yeah.
It's the way it is.
Yeah.
I don't believe in government.
Yeah. Preach on. Keep talking.
Yeah. Nope. I don't. As long as I pay my tax, we pay our taxes and that. In 4 years, maybe 5 years, I will be totally debt free. Our mortgage will be paid off. Everything else, I think I owned a credit card once, didn't like it, ripped it up, threw it out, and my husband and I haven't had a credit card, I think, in 20 years. We don't own them. Yeah. We don't believe in them. My dad, growing up as a child, my dad said, if you want something, you're going to pay for it. No, don't get in debt, because he says if you get in debt, you don't really need it. And I don't. If I want something, I save up for it, and I get it if I need it. Other than that, I don't. If I don't need it, I don't want it.
Yeah. Well, I hope people have an opportunity to listen to this broadcast that aren't here in the live on the replay, because you're talking a lot of sense and there's a lot of lessons to be learned from the things that you're saying. I seriously can't really disagree with any of it.
I had to grow up early. My father died when I was 16. My husband was with me, helped me through the whole ordeal. I had to deal with my father dying of cancer. And you know what? I look back, my mother died. I was 16 when my dad died. I was 19 when my mother died. And you know what? Watching them, they were very close to each other. My mother missed my father, and she didn't want to live anymore. But I took care of her when she was sick. My sisters didn't help when I had to quit school. It was my husband that helped me. And you know what? I had to grow up fast and learning. I tell you, the year before I met my husband, I was in the United States. I went on a trip with some family friends. They invited me to go to Florida for 3 weeks. And the only thing I liked about going down through there was the Tennessee Hills. They took me through the Tennessee Hills, through Kentucky, Tennessee, Georgia. And I seen people cooking over open fires, the old way, doing everything. This was back in the 70s. And you know what? I still view that to this day, and that inspired me. It, doing that, nothing fancy, nothing, all high tech cooking equipment and everything. You want to mix eggs? Why use a beater? Just use a fork or chopsticks, whatever. I always tell my kids when they complain about doing dishes and stuff, I said, well, the old ways for hands were made before forks. You use your hands then if you don't want to, if you don't want to do dishes. And, it wouldn't, or whatever, and eat that way. It wouldn't bother me if it came down living in the bush. If you had to go survival, you could make almost anything, and you could do whatever you wanted to hide in the bush and be able to survive. You'd be astonished what people can do once their survival mode kicked in. I've learned how to live like the blind. I had 1 year. I have an injury from being a child in my left eye. I have a virus that's eating my cornea away, and I'm partially blind. 1 year, I had an attack, and I was completely blind in both eyes. And my husband brought me home from the doctors. I learned to live 3 weeks in the dark as a blind person. I wouldn't let them help me. I learned I could walk every inch of my house. I learned how to cook. I learned how to pour coffee, tea, whatever it was. I learned how to do and live like a blind person for 3 weeks. And that really inspired me. So then, if you ever do lose your vision, your other senses really, truly kick in. Your smell, your hearing, your touch, it all kicks in double. So, I give 100% to anybody that's blind or born blind, how they do and how they can survive. And I would do a cheers to them, because that's inspiring when they're able to live their life that way and continue on. Some people give up, some don't. Some are fighters, and I've did it for 3 weeks, and I know how they feel.
Yeah, that is just amazing. I really, yeah, that's almost like no words for that. That's super cool. I've often said that to people when they complain. I'll hear somebody, complaining or moaning about some problem that they may have. And when I see somebody with actual real problems that's born with some kind of a disability, where they're born without limbs, or they're born without their sight, or they're born without whatever, and they're doing amazing things with their life, it just hits me right here, and I just think that there's so many people that find a way to just complain about things rather than live their life. And you're kind of a shining example of somebody who's just going out and getting after it. And I really do think the Terminator nickname is quite appropriate, to be quite honest, Lucy. we had never really chatted before, but I appreciate having you on and getting to hear a lot more about you and your story. It's super inspiring. Somebody had said you should write a book.
The only thing I haven't
probably could.
The only thing I'm really inspired by you is the char. What is that char with the wood that you do? I've never done that before.
Yeah.
And it's fascinating when I watch your videos about how you guys do that. And like when you did the video on how you train the pigs to dirty in the one corner, my pigs, my son-in-law, he was laughing the other day, and he says to me, he says, Mom, he says, why do you name your pigs? I said, I'll tell you why. I said, all the years I've raised pigs, when it comes time to butchering and you got a 250 pound to 300 pound pig and you got to get it out of that pen to shoot it and do what you got to do. And if it's not tame enough, it's going to rip you apart, or, it's going to do some damage. I like it where I can walk them out. They'll sit and you can drop them right there. And it's nice and calm, because I've got one. I said to him, I said, I told you, I've got one of my new sows I got. She mouthed back to me, and I've already had my hand sliced open by her teeth once. And she went to go at me again, and I took a shovel and slapped her in the nose, and I told her to behave herself. She's starting to get closer to me now, but I want them tame. If I'm the one, I'm a 62-year-old woman, and if I'm the one that's dealing with these pigs and feeding them and taking care of them, I want to be able to handle them. I don't want them to handle me. I'm the boss. And he agreed with me after that. He agreed because he's seen some of the sizes. I think the biggest one my husband and I raised was 360 pounds for butchering. And when I brought that one around the corner, the people that came and shot and did the butchering for us to load on their truck, they just shook their heads. He come out nice and quietly, sat down and started grunting at my husband, and he didn't even see what was coming from behind him. And that's all it takes. One drop, boom, done. You're gone. Down to the butchers. But you know, when you're feeding those, you got 4 pigs in a pen, you're feeding, you know, through experience, as they get bigger, they can get aggressive. Pigs are smart, but they can get aggressive if they want to.
Oh yeah, they'll take fingers off.
Oh yes. Yep.
Well, man, this has really been a great conversation, Lucy. I've really appreciated having you on.
Oh, thank you.
Yeah, thanks for joining me tonight. I actually have included the links to freesteading, your channel on freesteading, as well as YouTube, in the show notes. And I would encourage anybody who's listening to this to maybe go and give Lucy a follow, because as you just have heard, she's quite an inspiring woman. And yeah, I'm glad to subscribe to your channel and follow you. And I don't know if maybe you have some things you want to add at the end. You know, is there any other words like of wisdom or something you'd like to leave folks with, as far as maybe something inspirational or just parting words type of a thing?
Be true to yourself and live a life done free.
Yeah.
Be free.
Yeah.
That's the only way we're going to be able to move on with what's coming in the world now. Be as free as you can and be true to yourself.
Right. What do you think is actually coming, just on kind of just as an overview? What do you think we're kind of being faced with?
Well, the way I look at it, my mother, I go back to the Great Depression, and before the war, back then, the Second World War, my mom always talked to me about how things were getting. Everything was skyrocketing and everything was expensive. Then money was no good. Then the government started handing out, what did they call that? They'd have all these papers where food stamps, they'd start and they're already starting to do that. And it's just like it's a sequence, same thing before a war. And with everything going on in Europe and our crazy dumb government, the way it's going and everything, sending billions of dollars over there, but our country's burning and he's not helping. You know what I mean? So, you know, I listen to everybody that I can. And the biggest thing is prepare. Do as much food, saving anything you can, because if anything does happen, and it does come, it might not be this year, it might be next year. Save seeds. That's what's going to help you through it all, because they'll take everything they can from you.
I would echo that sentiment, and I would also I would like to add that I think it's important to continue to skill build your skills, things that you don't know how to do. Some of those very simple things that are going to get you through when times maybe are a little harder than they are right now. And the other thing that's very important that people might want to consider is getting out of debt, because when you're not beholden to that slavery of debt, you are so much more free to do the things that you want.
That's right.
And the money that you need to spend is money that is going to be more liquid for the things that you actually need to spend money on, not just the things you want to spend money on. So that's what I would add to what you had to say there. Yeah. But I would, I really do appreciate you coming on, Lucy, and it's been super great. Don't know if you have any other links that you'd like me to include, but I will make sure that I get those into the show notes. If you have something you want to also add.
No, I don't have any other links. I have my YouTube channel and that's it. It's all, I have a young lady. She's actually we always called her our stepdaughter. She's my daughter's best friend. They've been in school together. They're both married to brothers, and she's a paramedic. And I was talking to her a couple nights ago, and she's been following my YouTube channel. And her husband works for Rogers, which is a TV phone company, internet company. And he was giving me some, I don't know, some inspirational, what would you call that? How I should do my video when I do my videos. I said, well, one thing, I don't edit my videos. It is what it is. And if they don't like it, don't watch it. But my videos is just what I do. And that's what real life is all about. I don't want to take out the goods and the bads. If I make a mistake, I make a mistake. Nobody's perfect in this world. If I can correct my mistake on the video, I will. If I can't, then I'll go back and do another video and show what I've done wrong, or if I've made a mistake, you know. And he says, no, he says, for a woman at your age and what you've started and what you're trying to do and you're learning to do and everything, he says, we commend you. And they clapped, and he says, no, he says, but I'll just give you a little guidance. I don't have a camera right now. I lost my camera in the fire. So when I save up the money and get myself a camera, then I can do my videos, but I'm doing it on this poor little old phone of mine. And he says, well, instead of just doing it upright, when we look at your videos, they're kind of just a little like in the center. And he says, just when you go to do your video, turn your phone around. And he said, then you'll get a full view of what your video is. And I said, okay. So he was giving me some pointers, and you know what? I really appreciate that, because, you know, you're always learning something new. And I didn't know that. And because I told him, and then my stepdaughter, she kept saying, get your children to get you one of those things that hold your phone way out so you can be in the video as you're walking along your garden. And she's giving me all these. It was so funny. But they were waiting. They're probably on here watching tonight, because she was determined she was going to watch it tonight.
Yeah, that's super good. I really do appreciate you coming on, Lucy. And I'm going to go ahead and wrap it up. But for those that were in the chat tonight, in the broadcast, you know, thanks for adding to the conversation. I think it was a really, you know, meaningful conversation this evening. And
well, everybody that was in the chat tonight, I want to thank them. Stay safe, take care, and God bless to all. That's what I give to everybody in the chat. And go live a life done free.
Yeah, for sure. And also remember, if you want to catch this or any of the other episodes from Porterhouse and Teal Live, all of those have been uploaded to the podcast, which is on Spotify, and it's on Audible,
I have that.
It's on
Google, yeah, I listen to Spotify.
Yep, and it's on iHeartRadio. So again, thanks, Lucy, for joining me tonight, and
thank you.
We'll see you guys on the next one.
Thank you very much. Take care, stay safe, and God bless.
Bye now.